Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I've decided to share with you a journey I embarked on quite a while ago. For you see, I'm a watcher of Bird Keeper Toby. Yes, I'm sad that he's leaving YouTube, but there is one thing that he's done that really stuck with me. That being his Master Dex challenge. For those who don't know, it's kind of an insane way of doing a complete living dex, which a complete living dex on its own is crazy. But Toby wanted to take it one step beyond. Many steps beyond, in fact. He had a bunch of rules which now he's a bit more lax on. They're now more so, hey, you've done this thing, congratulations. Have a star, whether that be bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. It's still a way of, hey, you've done something insane, good job. I've decided to essentially have my own rule set, largely based on some of the rules he had, but I also threw a spanner into it because I don't like the way he did the legendary birds, I don't like the way he did Pokemon Go. I like most of the other things. They're pretty interesting, and it's been fun to play through Pokemon again. But before I get into that, for posterity purposes, I wanted to showcase how you would transfer a Pokemon from the furthest back you can go, which is weirdly Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD, and how you would transfer it all the way to Pokemon Home now. Any game in between, if you're transferring a Pokemon from there, you just ignore the earlier steps that don't apply there, and then just go forward. Let's discuss how far a Pokemon can travel back from. Let's start with booting up either Pokemon Colosseum or Pokemon XD. For this video, I chose Pokemon XD, as I want to get my Shadow Lugia into Pokemon Home. For the record, I did purify it first. You've got to plug in your Game Boy Advance using the GBA to GameCube connector cable, and plug in said cable into the second slot of your GameCube or Wii. The game will suddenly start possessing your GBA, and now you can suddenly start trading. From your RA game, you select which Pokemon you want to trade using the GameCube controller. You select what Pokemon you want on the TV screen using your GBA as a controller. Once you're happy, you trade. Once you've finished trading, you can send your Pokemon from your Gen 3 game to a Gen 4 game using a DS or DS Lite. Make sure your Gen 4 game has Pal Park in it. Select Migrate from whichever Gen 3 game you're using. Select the 6 Pokemon you want to do. You can only do this once per day. And then they'll be deleted from your GBA game, and you'll be ready to do a catching minigame in Pal Park, as the Pokemon were copied. Now all you've got to do is catch them all, and select to save them into your PC boxes. Now we move on to sending them to Gen 5. Make sure you've got Poké Transfer unlocked, and then connect via wireless play to your DS or 3DS system. Make sure the DS system that doesn't have your Gen 5 game in it has your Gen 4 game in it. The signal will be sent out from Pokemon Black, White, Black 2, or White 2, and you receive it using the download play option either on your DS or 3DS system. You've then got another catching minigame, specifically on the system with the download play. Make sure you select save. You can do this as many times as you want from Gen 4 to Gen 5. Just make sure at any point in this process thus far, none of these Pokemon have any HM moves because they are not transferable. You can transfer Pokemon from Gen 5 up towards Pokemon Bank if they have HMs, or not, via the 3DS app Poké Transporter. This sends your Pokemon from your Gen 5 game, and others but I'll get to that, into Pokemon Bank. If you have a virtual console game, whether that be Pokemon Red, Blue, Green if you have a Japanese copy, Yellow, Gold, Silver, or Crystal, and you've caught a Pokemon either in those Gen 1 or Gen 2 games, and said Pokemon are in Box 1 of each of those respective games, you can also use Poké Transporter, as it will do the same thing as if you had a Gen 5 game in your 3DS slot. I must also note that it only works for Box 1 of the Gen 5 game as well. You can only do this with one game at a time, and make sure you go into Pokemon Bank, preferably with a Gen 6 game or one of the Alola games, as that'll actually give you access to your boxes in Pokemon Bank so you can shuffle them about and take the Pokemon outside of the transfer box, which you'll need to do if you want to transfer them to Pokemon Home or if you want to use Poké Transporter again. Once you're satisfied, you can boot up Pokemon Home on your Nintendo Switch, and you can now start sending Pokemon from Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home. Make sure you press Send to Pokemon Home on Pokemon Bank and the 3DS option on Pokemon Home. Make sure you agree to all the licenses, and make sure you're not kept on any screen other than the screen with the actual code on it for too long, as then you would need to set up Pokemon Home again. But once you input the code, then the magic happens and your Pokemon will be in Pokemon Home. Just give it some time for all of the Pokemon to send, but it won't take that long, and once they've been sent, just reorganize your boxes to your heart's content. So now I've shown that and documented that, let's go through my Pokemon Home and let me explain what rules I'm going for. I will note the audio might be a bit weird considering I recorded the audio for that on my phone, because I'm not currently able to record with my microphone and record footage on my Switch. So hopefully that can change in the future, but I'm not currently able to do that. Apologies in advance.
So, if you look at this Ekans, you'll see that I have met it in the Kanto region in the good old days, and it has the Game Boy symbol. That means that it was encountered in the Gen 1 Virtual Console games. Also, for example, I named myself Matata when I played through Pokemon Crystal, but as you can see, that was a similar deal. I caught it in Virtual Console Gold, Silver, Crystal. In fact, every Pokemon was caught in the original games that you could encounter them in. So, this Poochyena from Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. This Weasel was encountered in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. This Ordino, for example, was encountered in Gen 5. This Pyroar was found in X and Y. This Poplio is from Sun, Ultra Moon. This Meltan is from Pokemon Go. This Phalanx is from Sword and Shield. This Alpha Sneasler is from Legends Arceus. And this Alboliva is from Scarlet Violet. So basically, every single Pokemon must be obtained in its original game, as it were. There are exceptions to this. For example, this Weavile here is from Virtual Console Gold, Silver, Crystal. In fact, every cross-gen evolution should come from the game that their original member of the family came from. In the case of something like Blissey, that would be Gen 1 Kanto. But like in the case of something like Roserade, it would be from like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. There are going to be exceptions to this. I'll mention them when they come up. But for now, I'm going to talk about the exceptions to these rules. For example, you might have noticed that the OT on my Bulbasaur, for example, is Matata. It does have the Game Boy symbol, but it says it's from the Johto region. I've decided that I think it's about 18 Pokemon who you cannot obtain in Gen 2 at all without trading in from Gen 1 should be, well, traded in from Gen 2. As you can see, all 9 starters are like this. The OTs on the fully evolved ones are not Matata, and I just bred these others. And also they have the Gmax symbol, because I decided to give them the Gmax thing. I'll get to what I want to do with Mew in a bit. I also have a bit of an exception when it comes to something like Rattata and Raticate. If a Pokemon has a regional variant, the original version must come from the region where the variant happened in. In the case of something like Meowth, it should be Alola, but I don't have that yet. I'm going to list them off now. These Pikachu and Raichu, they say they come from Sword and Shield right now, but I don't want them to. This Pikachu I actually want to come from Battle Revolution, along with Magmortar and Electivire. And this Raichu I want to evolve from the Pikachu that you get as a reward after doing the Mantine Surfing minigames in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. This Clefairy, and this Clefable, and this Jigglypuff, and this Wigglytuff all come from the Pokewalker. If you put Jirachi in the Pokewalker, you can unlock Night Sky Edge as a course. These just so happen to be the rarest Mon, Clefairy and Jigglypuff. I've just also gotten ones that I can evolve. You can get these through another course, however, it requires a lot of walking. Now, this Machamp and this Snorlax are from Legends Arceus. I want to make them Gigantamaxable because they are the 2 guaranteed alpha Pokemon that can be Gigantamaxable. Now this Tentacool, I want to come from Heart Gold Soul Silver from Cianwood City. This is because this is a very special Tentacool. It is given to you if you basically have soft-locked yourself at Cianwood City by having no Pokemon that can learn Surf. Also, I hope, as you can see with all these Game Boy marks, I have done most of the challenge that I'm trying to lay out in this video. I've actually done it for most of the first 4 gens. I've not done completely everything yet. Like something like this Tentacool, I'm probably going to save until like the very end. And there are some like very unique things that I've just not done yet. And also, I'm making my way through all of Pokemon, and I'm in the middle of Gen 5.
Hello, Editing Matt here. This bit was a little out of date. Since recording this section, I have actually completed most of the Unova portion of the Dex. So let's move on pretending I said that.
But yeah, you'll see this as mostly complete
Hello,
for the first
Editing
4
Matt
gens.
again.
Speaking of Gen 4, actually.
Hello,
this
Editing Matt
Gengar
again.
is from
Turns out, I
Diamond
do
Pearl
now
Platinum,
have a Boneyard, which now has evolved into a
It is
Kingambit.
caught in the old Chateau. Essentially, if you have a Gen 3 game in your Game Boy slot on an original DS or a DS Lite, it can actually spawn in a Gengar, but you have to have the National Pokédex unlocked in order to make this happen. Okay, Scyther and its evolutions, and Pinsir and its evolutions have to come from Heart Gold Soul Silver's bug catching minigame so that they can be caught in the Sport Ball. Also, this Tauros is in a Safari Ball. That's just because I think it's cute. And it's also falling under a similar rule to that of those other Pokemon that I listed, like the Marowak, like the Weezing, that sort of thing. Okay, I've got an interesting thing with Pokemon Go going on. This Gyarados is from Pokemon Go. Gyarados is one of the list of Pokemon that you obtain in Pokemon Go by evolving its pre-evolution, which, of course, all Pokemon in Pokemon Go can be like that. But Gyarados, specifically, its evolution requirement is 400 candies. I've decided that all Pokemon from Pokemon Go that require 400 candies to evolve should have their final evolutions in Pokemon Home come from Pokemon Go. I'm also going to do something unique with the evolutions. So these here, although they say Matata, as you can see, they're from Kanto, meaning they're from Gen 1 Virtual Console. I've decided the evolutions introduced after Gen 1 won't come from Gen 1, but will come from the first games where you could evolve Eevee into all the other evolutions. So essentially, you cannot evolve Eevee into Espeon or Umbreon in Fire Red Leaf Green, so I'm going to make those come from that. You cannot make Eevee evolve into Leafeon or Glaceon in Heart Gold Soul Silver, so that's where they come from. And you can't evolve Eevee into Sylveon in BDSP. You also can't evolve Eevee into Sylveon in Let's Go, but you also can't do any of the other ones other than these 3. So I think that's fair. Dragonite says it comes from a distant land, and that's because it comes from the Ori region. Dragonite is the last Shadow Pokemon you catch in Pokemon XD. The last Kanto Pokemon I want to discuss is Mew. I'm actually going to use Mew to discuss a more wider topic of mythical Pokemon. If you want to do this challenge, and the rule I'm using for mythical Pokemon is if you cannot otherwise obtain them, you can do whatever you want to obtain them. But with Mew, when I got it, the Pokeball Plus was an option. This Mew comes from the Pokeball Plus, although it may not be an option because you only get 1 Mew per Pokeball Plus, and that's quite a limited resource now. I don't know how limited, but it's probably more limited than it was, so it may not be a viable option. If you want to get Mew, your best bets are Pokemon Go, or if you have Let's Go and also BDSP, you can get it in BDSP. This Sentret says it's from Gen 2 Virtual Console. I don't want it to be. Sentret is the only Pokemon in the entirety of Gen 3 that can only be found in the Sevi Islands. All of the Hoenn Pokemon can be found in Hoenn. All of the Kanto Pokemon can be found in Kanto. All of the Johto Pokemon that you can get can either be found in Ore or elsewhere, but the Sevi Islands is the only place you can actually catch a Sentret. Baby Pokemon, they should just come from the game they were introduced in, unless if I have a funky exception. This Sudowoodo is the only Pokemon you can actually catch in a Battle Frontier. So when I play through Emerald, I am going to catch the Sudowoodo at the Battle Frontier. Steelix, I'm kind of interested in trying to get it from the Japanese Oras demo, but that might not happen. Hold on. Okay, so this Caesar is meant to be from the bug catching minigame, as is my Cleavor, but for some reason I've just not added that in. So this Teddiursa and this Fanpy should come from the trading side quest at the end of Black 2 White 2. I've not done that yet. I'm currently actually playing through Black 2 White 2, so wish me luck on that. Lugia. It should be the Shadow Lugia from Pokemon XD, and that reads as from Ore. Ho-Oh should be the Ho-Oh you get at the end of Mount Battle. It's specifically in the side mode of Pokemon Colosseum. That reads as from, I think, specifically Pokemon Sapphire for some reason. So that says it's from Hoenn. And seems to have had a fateful encounter in the Johto region, because this Celebi is actually from the event in Pokemon Crystal that's actually part of the Virtual Console Pokemon Crystal. They've just put the event in that release so you can just get it. Provided you have Pokemon Crystal on the Virtual Console, which you might not be able to get now without modding your 3DS. I'm considering getting this Poochyena to be the Poochyena you get at the start of Oras. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but I'm considering it. Whiscash I want to catch from the original Ruby Sapphire Emerald, and the reason I haven't done that yet is because I want to catch it in a Master Ball. If I want to be the very best that no one ever was, that includes Ash Ketchum, who couldn't even catch a Whiscash with a Master Ball. So there's that. Also, just want to say, got these Feebas and Milotic from Gen 3 Hoenn. As you can see, it will only read as this if it's from Gen 3 Hoenn. So there you go. Ooh, this Glalie should come from the Oras demo. I'm not sure whether I want this Rayquaza from Heart Gold Soul Silver or not, because there is a really specific event where you get Groudon from Heart Gold, I think, Kyogre from Soul Silver, and once you have those particular two, you can get Rayquaza in one of your games. So yeah. This Jirachi is actually from Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. You get it in a similar way to how you could get Mew, but this time you get with Sword and Shield data on your Switch. This is not the Jirachi that I'm considering having for the Master Dex, because as you may have seen with that footage of my Pokewalker that I played during when I was talking about Jigglypuff and Clefairy, I have a Wishmaker Jirachi. You get a Wishmaker Jirachi from the Pokemon Colosseum bonus disc or the Pokemon Box bonus disc if you're from Europe. The bonus disc for Pokemon Colosseum actually has Celebi in it if you're from Japan, so there's that to consider. Oh, and Deoxys is from Oras. I will continue to talk about how you can get some of these Mythicals in a legit way, but if I ever do not specify, assume you can just get it from hacking and just count that, because that's what I can do. I will specify how I got mine. Those events are not necessarily repeatable. So I got these Gen 4 Pokemon from Gen 4. I think the exceptions to getting them from Gen 4 is just cross-gens, like this Roserade is from Ruby Sapphire Emerald. I think absolutely everything just came from Platinum, apart from cross-gens. I might have missed a couple, but I can rectify that if so. Spiritomb can come from any Sinnoh or Hisui game. Since I have this Spiritomb from Diamond Pearl Platinum, that's where it comes from. Munchlax from Diamond Pearl Platinum, just breed it. Breed it, breed it. It's a bad idea to not. Essentially. If you do, kudos to you. Like, jeez. This Togekiss from a distant land. That's because it is the Togetic, which is the final Shadow Pokemon you catch in Pokemon Colosseum, but I decided to evolve it, because all of the other RA Pokemon I decided to get are fully evolved anyway. But yeah, I think that's it. Also, I have done the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Leafeon, and Glaceon, but I haven't done any of the other evolutions just yet. Dialga and Palkia should both be caught in the Origin Ball. It doesn't say that they're caught in the Origin Ball here, but trust me, this is caught in the Origin Ball. This hasn't been yet. I will do that at some point. By the way, I used the Regis from Gen 3 to get this Regigigas, which is fun. And this Giratina is in a Dream Ball because it came from Pokemon Dream Radar. If you have a Gen 4 game in your 3DS while you're playing Pokemon Dream Radar, in the post-game of Dream Radar, you can actually catch all of the box art legends of those respective games, the box art legends of the respective game you have in Pokemon Dream Radar. So that's how I got Giratina. For the Mythicals in Gen 4, I haven't put Manaphy and Fione in here yet, because I am highly considering having my Manaphy be the Manaphy egg from Pokemon Ranger, because I can do that. Because my boyfriend had Pokemon Ranger and did not take the Manaphy out because he didn't know that was a thing, and he's currently said I could do it. If he changes his mind, he has time. I've not started Pokemon Ranger yet, so that's good. And the Fione, I kind of want to come from my Pokemon Ranch. That's what I'm planning to do. But you can get them repeatably in Legends Arceus, just normally. Darkrai and Shaman come from Legends Arceus. One of them comes from Legends Arceus if you have Sword and Shield save data, and the other if you have BDSP save data. Meanwhile, Arceus you can get from Legends Arceus if you complete the game, but you can also get from BDSP if you have completed Legends Arceus. I've decided just to have the titular Arceus of Legends Arceus, mainly because I want to shiny hunt the actual Arceus from BDSP. This Victini, you can get Victini from Pokemon Go, but this Victini is actually from an event, a Sword and Shield event, as you can see. This Moon and Musharna are actually from Pokemon Dream Radar. Okay, this Boldor is one of N's Pokemon. It's N's Boldor, which, if you use the memory link with a essentially completed save file of Black and White, you can catch N's Pokemon in Black 2 and White 2. All of the Pokemon N had. You are just given his Zorua normally. The others you can catch. Keldeo comes from the Crown Tundra, once you get all of the Swords of Justice from that. Meloetta, I got mine from Pokemon Go, and my Genesect I got from an event. So yeah, all of the X and Y Pokemon from X and Y. This Greninja is from the Sun and Moon demo. It's originally owned by Ash. Yeah, I don't think there are any exceptions in Kalos other than that, the regional variant rule, the Pokemon Go rule, and my Sylveon rule, which I haven't done yet. My Volcanion is from an event. Not gonna talk about these others because they aren't real. My Alola is pretty complete. Here's the thing, these all may look complete, but I mainly got things from Sword and Shield, and I may have action replayed some stuff from Alola, which I'm deciding to rectify when I play through Alola again. With Alola, like the totem-sized Pokemon you can get in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, that you can actually transfer to Bank. The ones you can transfer to Bank actually were totem Pokemon in Sun and Moon, but you can get them totem-sized in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. You can transfer those into Pokemon Bank, but not the ones that are new to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So that's the list that I'm putting on screen now, but those totem-sized Pokemon, although they won't appear as such in Pokemon Home, will be the versions that I have in here. So like Mimikyu, for example. I got my Marshadow from an event, Sword and Shield event. By the way, this Magearna you can just normally get in Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon by scanning a QR code. And this Zeraora is not real. Melmetal. This one says it's from Pokemon Go, which did require 400 candies. But I'm thinking of having this be the Melmetal you get in Pokemon Home, which I do have, which I'll just bring back here because it's G-Maxable, and I want to represent the G-Max Pokemon properly. So all of these Galar Pokemon were caught in Galar. I do want all of the Pokemon that can be G-Maxed to have the G-Max factor. The one exception for Galar is actually Mr. Rhyme, which was an Alpha Mime Jr., which is why this one's from Hisui. If I didn't want to make it an Alpha, I would have probably just got Mime Jr. from Platinum. This Zarude is a legit Zarude from an event. Right, this Cleavor is in a Sport Ball. So I transferred my Cleavor. I don't know what happened with that Caesar. This Weirdeer and this Ursaluna are from Virtual Console Gen 2. And all of these Paldea Pokemon are from Paldea. I do have a couple of exceptions that aren't just cross-gen stuff. Like, for example, this Cloth. I don't think there's any way to see it in Pokemon Home, but this is a former Titan Pokemon. Once you reach the post-game, you can actually go back to the areas which you fought them in, and they will have a Titan mark on them. So there's 6 of them in total. There is, of course, Cloth, but there's also Bombardier, Orthworm, Tatsugiri, Great Tusk, and Iron Treads. Not Dondozo. It's specifically on the Tatsugiri. I don't have Kingambit yet.
Hello, editing Matt again. Turns out I do now have a Pawniard which now has evolved into a Kingambit. So, let's move on, I guess.
Somewhat considering having this Goldengo be from Pokemon Go, I do not know whether or not I should do that. This Diplin is from Sword and Shield, and I think that's it. This Duraludon will evolve into an Arcaludon once the DLC comes out. But I think that's it. Then we've got some form deck stuff. Basically, every gender variant Pokemon will have both gender forms on them. Basically, all I care about here is, do they come from their home region or not? They should come from their home region if possible, but if not, I'm not sweating it. Because, like, even with regional variants, right? Like, if I can get the Kanto variant, or the Alolan variants from Kanto, I can and I will. But with the other ones, they can just come from the earliest time they come from, or the earliest region the region they come from, just generally. Although this Mr. Mime, this Galarian Mr. Mime is an Alpha Mime Jr. as well. All of the unknown I got from Legends Arceus. They can just come from, like, anywhere. Well, either Johto with Gen 3 Kanto for these two, or just all from Legends Arceus. And basically every form change Pokemon. So all of the Burmese, all of the Wormadams, all of the Shellos and Gastrodon, all of the gender variants of these, all of the regional variants, all of the stripes of Basculin, all of the Rotom forms, all of the seasons of Deerling and Salisbuck, the Therian forms from Dream Radar, actually. All of the Vivions from anywhere, but let's be real, you're probably going to get them from Paldea and Pokemon Go. All of the Floettes and Florges from Kalos. All of the Furfrous from Pokemon Go, because that's the only way you can actually get the alternate forms. Apparently you can get 10% Zygarde from a Kalos Zygarde. Also, Shaman Sky form. Basically, if you can get a Mythical in a legit way, I'm going to count those. So this would be Shaman Sky form, which I can get if I transfer it from Legends Arceus. All the Oricorios. Dusk form Lycanroc is only obtainable in the Isle of Armor through Max Raid, so I've decided to get that. This is a legitimate original form Magearna, which you get in Pokemon Home, or original color Magearna, I should say. which you can get in Pokemon Home by getting every Pokemon in the National Dex from Bulbasaur all the way to Eternatus. All of the Alcremies, both Urshifus, all of the Squawkabillies, all of the Tatsugiris, the Pokemon Go Gimmighoul, which is an alternate form. I'm choosing to get all forms of a Pokemon in the form dex if there isn't a main one. And if there is a main one, I'm only going to put the alternate forms in the form dex. So like all the Tatsugiris, all the Squawkabillies. But I'm gonna just put Blood Moon Ursaluna. But yeah, that's my Pokemon Home Master Dex. I am most of the way through it now. But of course, I'll keep you posted for any major updates. I'll close the video off with my face now.
So that's it. I'm basically 90% done. Of course, I'll continue to change and update it, and maybe in the new year, I'll make an update. But hopefully you like this video. It's a bit different from the content I usually make on this channel, but I hope it's a good kind of different. I kind of want to branch out into making other content outside of Fakemon, so hopefully you enjoyed that, and if you did, leave a like down below, as well as leave a comment. The engagement does good. And why not subscribe while you're down there? I'm hoping to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and you can make that happen. Why not also share the video? You know, get your friends watching. You can also check out my Instagram down below, as well as my Discord server for people who like to discuss my content, as well as links to my Patreon and the join button if you want to become a member. You don't have to do this, but the financial support will really help, and you will get benefits, such as being able to watch my videos in advance. Alright, I've kept you for long enough. I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.